Well, here's something I haven't done in a while. Q&A. I pretty much spent the whole day doing my taxes, and if you're wondering why I'm doing taxes in October, it's because I filed for an extension in April, so I would have more time to take care of it, and I still waited until the last possible day to take care of it. But it's taken care of. And since I spent so much of the day doing taxes, I kind of decided maybe I won't shoot a video today. Maybe I'll just do a live stream tomorrow. So I kind of took it easy, watched an episode of Parts Unknown, played a game of League of Legends, or half a game anyway, until my PC froze and crashed. And then I got bored. I had no work to do, and I was bored, and I hate being bored. It's been so long since I've really been bored because I've had so much work to do and I enjoyed doing my work. So instead of playing more League or watching more Netflix, I decided, why not make some work for myself? So I tweeted, ask me your questions, and now I'm gonna answer some. Before we get into questions, let me just quickly mention this image that was leaked through the App Store, the Apple Watch App Store specifically, that shows a couple of Gen 3 Pokemon, Sableye, Duskull, some ghosts that we already have in the game, and a new Pikachu with another hat. So even further confirmation that we are going to see some Gen 3, almost said which type, further confirmation that we are going to see some Gen 3 Ghost-type Pokemon in the game for the Halloween event, along with another Pikachu with a hat. Niantic, can you just put a hat on something else? Anything else? I guess probably not. But there you go. More confirmation that it's happening. And now let's answer some questions. With Gen 3 right around the corner, or at least some of Gen 3 coming during the Halloween event, a lot of these questions are going to be focused on Gen 3. So let's start with this one from David Hornstein. Have you heard the rumors that Gen 3 will be introducing new moves and abilities? Well, one, we will most likely get new moves with Gen 3. As for abilities, there's nothing credible to suggest that we're actually going to have abilities introduced to the game with Gen 3. There's no framework in the game data in the APK for abilities to be introduced right now. There's some leftover code that's been there since beta that references abilities, but again, that code has been there for over a year now and still isn't being used. As for new moves, we will more than likely be getting them, but if I recall correctly, when Gen 2 launched, we didn't see those new moves in the game data until the day of, I believe. The new moves got added to the game as Gen 2 got released. So we're not going to see those new moves ahead of time, most likely. We'll find out the day of when Gen 3 actually goes live. We can get a hold of the game master file and see what those Pokemon's moves are actually going to be, and we'll find out which existing Pokemon from Gen 1 and Gen 2 will have their moves changed. Now, to follow up on that, a question from David Cornejo. What are the new threats in Gen 3? Should we power up build candy for a specific Pokemon? Will they replace the current best type attackers? And the answer is, we can't really say yet because we don't know what moves these Gen 3 Pokemon are going to have. So there are a couple that are most likely going to become meta Pokemon. You have Slacking, which right now, without a nerf, has 5400 CP. Very high stats all around. So basically, no matter what moves it gets, if its stats stay that high, it's going to be a huge threat. You have Metagross, which is a Steel and Psychic type Pokemon, which will probably be a big threat. You'll see it in a lot of gyms. It'll be a top tier attacker, especially if it gets Psychic or Steel type moves to use. You'll have Salamence, a Dragon type Pokemon, which will be very similar in power levels to Dragonite. So again, depending on what moves it gets, it could be weaker, it could be stronger, it could be about the same. But the truth is, Gen 3 probably won't introduce Pokemon that you don't already have a decent counter for. Slacking's normal type, so Machamp's going to be a good counter there. Salamence is the same type as Dragonite, so whatever you're using against Dragonite is going to be good against Salamence. Metagross is interesting because it's Steel and Psychic, so Machamp's not going to be great there because Metagross with Psychic moves will just destroy your Machamp. So you might actually see Fire types become slightly more meta as good counters to Metagross. You can also use ground types against Metagross. So keep that in mind. Fire types becoming usable in the metagame could be interesting. Entei's going to be good for that, definitely. I guess Flareon, but Entei, really. Next question from Charlie Retz. Which Gen 3 Pokemon, if any, do you think will become raid bosses? I don't think any Gen 3 Pokemon will become raid bosses right away, and the reason for that is because if a rare Gen 3 Pokemon ends up as a raid boss, well then everyone's going to have it on the first day. Everyone who's fortunate enough to live in an area where you can actually get a group together to do raids. I'm sorry, again, rural players, but I think we might see a raid boss shuffle where you'll see some of the more rare Gen 1 and 2 Pokemon become raid bosses, so maybe we might finally see Dragonite raid bosses, or maybe some of the special raids that we saw during the events in the summer, like Houndoom, Piloswine, but I don't think we'll see Gen 3 raid bosses right away. Alright, I think this is going to be the last question on Gen 3 for this video. Do you think Shedinja could be a part of the Halloween event, even if they don't have abilities added in the game yet? I don't think so. What we see in the Halloween loading screen are the ghost types, of course, excluding Shedinja. These are the Pokemon who have ghost typing throughout their entire evolution line. Shedinja is ghost type, but it evolves from a ground and bug type. So besides that, I don't even think we'll see Shedinja with the regular Gen 3 launch. The truth is, it doesn't work without its ability. It's gonna have 1 HP. It'll be a completely useless Pokemon other than a Pokedex entry. So I'm thinking it might get left out the way that Smeargle and Delibird did. So whenever we get an update that does add abilities, something that can make Shedinja usable in the game, that's probably when we'll see it released. I guess Niantic could potentially do the same with Slacking and keep the whole Slacking line out of the game. Obviously, if Shedinja's kept out, it's possible that Nincada and Ninjask are left out as well. It's also possible that Nincada just evolves into Ninjask and they kind of ignore Shedinja, but if they leave out Shedinja, I expect them to leave out the entire evolution line. Remember, we still don't even have Delibird and Smeargle, and we're already going to start seeing Gen 3 Pokemon. So if Niantic can't get Delibird and Smeargle's moves right, they're not going to add them to the game. If they can't get Shedinja's ability right, they probably won't add it to the game until they can. Question from Stardust Farm PG. Stardust, Pokemon Go. Do you think Niantic will ever be fair? No. And hold Safari-like events in India, Australia, etc. Personally, I hope that Niantic will hold more events in different parts of the world. I'm hoping Australia will get an event during the Australian summer in the next few months that are coming up. And then as far as other areas like India and more neglected areas in terms of Pokemon Go, I'd like to see it. What we see here in the US are a lot of local city events partnering with Pokemon Go. So you have Philly Free Streets coming up. We just had Viva Calle San Jose. There was even Akron, Ohio. So you have things like that. And if event promoters or event organizations and companies in other countries can get in contact with Niantic, there's a possibility that they can get Pokemon Go bonuses added onto their event. You know, things like extra Pokestops for the event, maybe some special spawns if they're lucky. So if anyone watching is part of an organization that plans events anywhere around the world, try to get in contact with Niantic or get in contact with me. And let's see what we can do, because I would love for other parts of the world to get events. I like this one from Manuel, a Tim Ferriss question. If you could give advice to your 18-year-old self, what would it be? I honestly think if I could say anything to my 18-year-old self, it would be stop worrying about what people are thinking of you, because the truth is they're probably not thinking that much about you. And I feel like I let that worry sort of dictate too much of what I did. And even now, even though it's probably more true now since there's more of you looking at me, you're probably thinking things about me. But I also don't worry as much about it now. So if I was 18, if I could speak to my 18-year-old self, I would say, stop thinking about it. Just do what you want to do. Ryan Cade Chapman asks, do you plan on coming to Louisiana? And the reason I'm answering this is because yes, I do plan on coming to Louisiana at the end of this month, actually. I wanted to see some Pelicans home games. I haven't been back to New Orleans since... It's been at least 2 years since I've been to New Orleans. Maybe 3. It's been a while. So I'm going to go back, visit some friends, watch some Pelicans home games, and I'll definitely organize a meetup at some point while I'm there. So probably like Audubon Park or, I don't know, City Park. What's better for Pokemon Go? I have friends that play there. They'll let me know. We'll figure it out. Keep an eye on Twitter. I'll be in New Orleans at the end of the month, and we're going to do a meetup for sure. Following that, Ferguson asks, do you plan to visit Singapore? And the reason I'm answering this question is because, yes, I do plan to visit Singapore. In December, I got a sweet flight deal to go to Manila and Singapore. So in December, I'll be heading to Manila on like December 3rd. My sister will be there with her boyfriend. I have family there. Definitely doing meetups in the Philippines for sure. Maybe a little bit of island hopping if I can manage. And then from there, I'll go to Singapore for 5 days where I'll meet up with my sister and her boyfriend again after they're traveling a little bit elsewhere. And with the top Pokemon Go player in the world, Brandon Tan, and his crew. So, should be a fun trip. Again, I will definitely be tweeting out meetups, but there's some travel plans coming up. New Orleans at the end of this month, Manila, and Singapore, and hopefully more of the Philippines in December. And final question for this video from Aiko. Props for keeping Pokemon Go alive. Thank you. I don't know how much I've contributed to that. I guess I have. I know a lot of you are still playing because you're watching these videos. But name a Gen 1 Pokemon you'd get tattooed. Probably none, honestly. I feel like getting a Pokemon tattoo for me is a little bit too obvious. I like to be more subtle with my tattoos. So I have my Pokemon gym badges tattooed. That's my Pokemon tattoo right there. It's not as obvious as, say, a Pokemon would be. And then obviously I got the ampersand to symbolize above and beyond. It's not the most obvious above and beyond tattoo. I feel like their Anjuna Beats logo is probably the most popular thing. But I just like to be a little bit more subtle about it. By the way, if you haven't seen it already and you want to know kind of the story of why I got this tattoo, check out my ABGT 250 video, which will also be linked in the description. That's the one that I spent 2.5 weeks on when I wasn't playing Pokemon Go and wasn't taking advantage of the double Stardust during the Equinox event. So, you know, go check that out. So I guess that's it for this video. I hope I answered some questions that you guys have about Gen 3. I know there were some questions about the ghost types that we're going to see in Gen 3. I'm going to save that probably for tomorrow's video. So I'll go into depth on the Pokemon that we're going to see for sure during the event and tell you everything you need to know about those. And in the meantime, I'm getting hyped. And now I have some work to do. It feels good not to be bored. I'll see you guys tomorrow.